Do you find yourself running out of time to accomplish your work? Are you spending time doing things that you're not that good at? There are effective ways to outsource these tasks so you can focus on your business. This is the Virtual Success Show. We bring the inside scoop on outsourcing success for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. And now, here are your hosts, Matt Maloof and Barbara Turley.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Virtual Success Show, where I'm joined by my co-host, Matt Maloof. Matt, how are you?
Barbara, I'm excellent.
Good. How's all your brood?
They're all well. They're all good. They're on school holidays at the moment, so they're back at school next week, and I'm sure my wife will be very, very happy about that.
Yeah, all the mums are like, when is school coming back? With your kids. I'm not into that phase yet. I've just got my almost 1-year-old. Well, she's nearly 11 months, so I'm a bit off the school holiday thing yet.
Nah, so it's all good.
Yeah, so today's topic, guys, is again a sort of a scenario that Matt sees and I see. I probably see a bit more than Matt actually in my line of business at Virtual Angel Hub, where we had a particular case, and we've seen this a few times, where a client will come in all revved up, excited about getting a VA, get a VA, and then it just doesn't work, right? And then we get in and try to see what the problem is, get another VA in there, still doesn't work. And in one particular case, I said to the team, can you ask the client to send us a very detailed brief of exactly what it is that they're really looking for? Just so we could get a better sense. We just had this feeling that we were missing something. And the client very kindly sent a very detailed brief in, which was fantastic for us to see, because the whole team sort of collectively, virtually online went, whoa, 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 because what was laid out would actually, really what this client actually needed was kind of a marketing agency. And they were trying to get a part-time VA to do things that really are way outside the scope of what a VA is capable of doing. So I thought this would be a great topic to discuss. When is a VA really not not necessarily not the right choice, but maybe not the first choice you should make, or you need something more developed alongside a VA. Otherwise, you are actually going to waste time and money. So, Matt, I was interested to hear your thoughts on this. Would you see this happen a lot? I mean, you're in the coaching side, so presumably, we'd actually recommended that this client go and get a strategist or a marketing person to sort of lay out what they need first.
I do see this regularly, and I think when I wrote the Stop Doing This book and put the tool together, I actually put one of the questions to ask as you go through the tool is, I'm just going to read it so I get it exactly right. Are special skills required for the task? And so as you're unpacking, all of the things that you want to stop doing and categorizing them into your excellence, competence or incompetence, you're asking yourself, are specialist skills required? If specialist skills are required, often that can indicate then whether a virtual assistant is going to be the right fit or not, or what particular kind of virtual assistant is going to be suitable. Let me give you a quick example. The VAs that we talk about are normally general VAs that support in administrative functions within a business. I've got VAs that I call upon on an ad hoc basis and use them for particular projects. So I've got a specialist that helps me with creating my slide presentations. Because as I went through looking at my stop doing list, and I said, does this require specialist skills? The answer was yes. I wanted someone with a good graphic design eye and also had a good understanding of Keynote and PowerPoint, those two softwares. So I think it's understanding what it is you're looking for this person to do, and then asking the question is, are specialist skills required? What you'll often find is that the more specialized the skills required, the less likely your general VA will be the right person to do that task.
Yeah, and I think it's understanding as well. I mean, oftentimes we're challenged financially in business, and that's a problem as well, where a person decides I'll get a VA, and they're really trying to convince themselves that a VA is going to be a strategist for them. So, I mean, one of the items on this particular list was to develop out lead generation strategies for each of my products. And we were like, well, really, a VA is not going to do that for you. That's way outside the scope of any sort of virtual assistant. That is the role of a strategist. And I think it's being we've even said to some clients, we've turned clients away actually on this, where we've said to them, really what you need, if you're tight financially, then maybe it's a good idea to use your budget right now to invest in a really good strategist or coach to help you to get ready to then flip the money into a VA and then actually get the value from what the VA is going to be doing. Otherwise, you will actually waste time and money and feel resentful of the money you've spent on a VA. That's what I think anyway.
Yeah, I can't agree with that enough, because it's so it's getting the right order, I guess, of operations, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's what we talk about at times, isn't it? That whole super VA concept, Barb, where people expect, well, I've got this virtual assistant now, and they'll be able to do everything, or they're the savior. But in actual fact, there's no strategy. And in that example you just gave, that's a very specialist skill to come up with an entire lead generation strategy that, I don't know, even, any general virtual assistant will be able to do.
No, no, definitely not. No, they would be completely. I mean, even I was overwhelmed when I saw the list, and I've actually worked on stuff like that before. But it's funny because sometimes a client doesn't actually know. So in this particular instance, I mean, this client didn't really realize until we sort of went back. I mean, maybe they had never actually laid out what they wanted done so deeply before. So it was a great exercise for them. And then we went back with advice and said, based on what you've given us, here's what we advise you to do, and here's some context that could help you with this. And then when you're ready, please come back and potentially a VA could work alongside someone like that. And look, if any of the listeners are wondering, well, I don't know what I need, you could jump on a call with our outsourcing strategy consultant. Just go to our website, virtualangelhub.com. And often on that first call, our guys are able to spot that pretty quickly for you and advise you what to do. And we often tell people, look, go and do this first, and then come back in a few months when you're ready, because otherwise you will waste money. And we don't want that. We don't just get people in. We're not in the business of just trying to churn as many VAs as possible. We're in the business of trying to get success for both VA and client. And part of it is understanding what your needs are. So it's very important, if you don't want to waste money, that you understand what your needs are.
And you're going to waste time as well to add to that, because the time you will invest trying to go down a road that is not going to work, it could be time spent educating or unpacking or putting a strategy together.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of people rush in. I think when people are really under pressure, Matt, I mean, starting a business is chaos, right? It really is. But it's that whole thing of just don't rush into, before you go and get a VA, because a lot of people come to us and they say, oh my God, I needed a VA yesterday. But it is worth just sitting down, taking a deep breath, maybe do it on a weekend over a coffee, and just try to figure out what is it that I actually need help with, and then maybe approach someone like us, for example, and let us have a look at it, and we can tell you whether a VA is the first move you should make. It may not be the first move. Maybe the first move is, as I said, a strategist or somebody who can help you more deeply. It may cost a bit more money, but in the long run, it will actually save you money.
Yeah, and I think just to open the listeners' minds also is that when we talk about virtual assistants, utilising whether it's overseas staff, that's one version of virtual assistant. I've got Rose who works for me, and I would consider Rose a virtual assistant, but she's local to me. And what's great is that when I identified the needs that I had for that role, I wanted somebody to come to my office once a week so that we can meet, that they could do the running around. And I knew that I didn't need somebody full time. It was just part time, and that worked for her. And I think that when you do what Barb was just talking about, go and have the coffee and unpack specifically what it is that you need and where you need the help, you'll start to look at things like, if it's an overseas person, what's the correct time zone? I was coaching somebody this week, and they've got a 24-hour operation, and so they're looking for somebody to be able to answer the phones overnight. So choosing an overseas destination where it's daytime for them while it's our nighttime, it makes a lot of sense. And so I think it's delving in and doing the work. We keep coming back to this phrase, but it's so true. It's the slowing down and actually unpacking in order to speed up, which is critically important here.
So just to summarize, the points, I guess, from today's show, because it is really important, like I said, so that you don't actually waste money with this. I think really step one is, for me, it's just taking a step back. It's that calming down and figuring out, what do I actually need right now, and laying out what is the detailed brief of, forgetting about what does a VA need to do for me. It's figuring out, what do I need to get done in my business in order to move it forward? And then step two is analyzing that list and saying, well, what parts of this can a VA do for me? And if you're stuck at that point because you don't really know what a VA can do for you, then hop on a call with someone like us and let us have a look at it for you, and we can actually tell you pretty quickly on a free call whether what parts a VA could do for you, and whether a VA going in first is the right solution, or whether you need a strategist first, or both at the same time if you have the cash flow to actually support that, or whether you're willing to kind of get the cash flow together to support that. And actually getting clear on those things, I think, is freedom in itself, because there'll be a sense of relief that you know actually what to do next, and you're not just rushing into this VA thing with your eyes closed.
And I think the only thing to add to that would be ask yourself the question, in order to get what I've got written down done, are specialist skills required?
Absolutely, yep. And like I said, some people don't really know, because they sort of say, it seems obvious to you and me, but sometimes when people are starting out in the VA thing, they're not quite sure, the scope of the VA. And like I said, we can tell you pretty quickly. So it's not something, don't let that part stress you out. There's people who can help you with that. And Matt, I know you sit down with clients all the time and figure this, you go into detailed depth with this kind of thing with clients.
Absolutely.
So yeah, often, VAs are a great idea, but there are situations where a VA is not the right solution for you either yet or maybe ever, because it could be a person physically in your office that you need, and maybe in time then a VA, a virtual assistant, or a virtual team, as we talk about. So don't rush into it.
Absolutely. I agree.
So guys, if you've got comments on this, or love to hear in particular if anyone has fallen into this trap themselves, because it is a very costly trap that you want to avoid, you can join the conversation over on our Facebook group, which is Virtual Success. Just look us up on Facebook, and there's a group with lots of people in there talking about this stuff. The other area we'd love to hear from you is on iTunes, or we're on Stitcher now. If you could give us a rating and a review and let us know there your comments about these shows and how it's helping you in your business, not to fall into these common traps. And if there's shows you want us to talk about or other situations, we would love to hear about it and dissect it for you on a show. So until next time, thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Barb. And
thank you for listening to the Virtual Success Show. If you found this show helpful, take a moment to share it with a friend so that we can all grow together. Find out more about the inside scoop on outsourcing success by going to our website, virtualsuccessshow.com. Until next time, thanks for listening.